Hi pen friends, this is Sarah. Today I'm going to be answering the 8 pen questions tag from seemownay and Liane likes, and then I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite books from my book collection as a response to WaskiSquirrel's book tour and Saenz book tour. Alright, so I'm going to go pretty quickly because I have a lot to get through. Question 1. When and how did your fountain pen journey begin? I don't have a very good memory, but I think that it was just before my daughter Eve was born in 2013, and I know that I got a huge education in fountain pens from Brian Goulet and SBRE Brown during the time when I was like feeding Eve when she was a baby and just holding her for long amounts of time. I would watch a lot of pen videos. Question 2. Favorite inks in the beginning. What are your go-to inks now? So when I started, I really loved Sailor Epinard, and I thought that if I could only have one ink, that would be it. So when they said they were going to stop making that ink, I kind of hoarded it. And now I have a lot of bottles of it that I probably will never use. So if you would like to buy some bottles of Epinard and can't find it, contact me. But now I think I really like Diamine Evergreen, another dark green ink. It seems to flow really well from my pens, and I enjoy it in every different size pen. I love how it looks in like 1.3 stub or even an extra fine nib. Question 3. How have your ink and pen tastes changed over time? So, over time I've seen a lot more pens, and so I know which ones I like the best. So at first, whenever I saw a pen in a video, I thought, I might like to have that pen. But now I realize from looking online a lot that a lot of the pens I like the best were made before I started my fountain pen journey in 2012 or 13. I really like a lot of the pens that are made out of celluloid, like celluloid nitrate, which isn't being made anymore. So the pens that were, like a lot of pens made with that material were made up until like 2000. So that's, now I'm just more aware of where I want to focus my collection. So at first I just had like a wide variety of different pens, but now I tend to I really love Italian pens. They were the ones that used a lot of those celluloids, and I love a softer nib. So I've realized what my preferences are, and I try to focus on those when I'm buying pens. Question 4. Are there inks and pens that you have yet to try but would like to? So since I really focus on celluloid pens with like a springy nib, I haven't tried a lot of pens that don't have those things, but I would love to try them, especially gold nibbed pens that are, more expensive than I really want to pay for the experience of trying them. That might be something that I'd be able to do, just try pens without buying them if I went to more pen shows. I've only been to one pen show, which was the Commonwealth Pen Show in Boston, and they had a lot of vintage pens, but they didn't have like the more recent pens from Italy that I'm interested in. They didn't have many modern pens. I would really like to try an Aurora nib because they make them in-house, but I've heard that they're pretty stiff and feedbacky, but a lot of people tend to like them, so I would like to try that. I haven't tried a lot of the higher end Pilot pens that get a lot of good reviews, just because the finishes on the pens, they're not usually celluloid, so I haven't purchased them, but I would really like to try them. Question 5. What is your Holy Grail pen? My Holy Grail pen is the Armando Simoni Club Triangolo in the Spina celluloid, which is the Arco Bronze celluloid, but it's set at a different angle, which shows a beautiful, spina means, I think, like spine or the fish spine, you know, like the bones of a fish. It has a beautiful pattern, and I love the triangolo shape. It's a triangular shape that was based on the Omas 360, and I've actually tried the pen. It writes really well, and I think that is a pen that I have, you know, been wishing for way before it was made because of Omas. I saw in SBRE Brown's videos, the 360, he said it had, like, the grip was very comfortable because of that shape, and I was really curious about it, but by that time they were hard to find, and so Armando Simoni Club now makes a pen that was inspired by the Omas 360, and it's called the Triangolo, and that is my Holy Grail pen. Question 6. How many pens do you currently own? I own 108 pens. It's a lot, but I do go through all of them. I keep them all inked all the time, just because I love to be able to grab any one of them and write with it right away. Question 7. Do you have a limit on pens or ink in your collection? Is it a number? Is it a feeling? When do you know that you have reached your maximum? I feel like I've met my maximum currently. I hope that I will not get more pens. One thing that limits the number of pens in my collection is that I have been trying to collect all the celluloids that I love the looks of the most, and since they don't make them anymore, they do make what they call celluloids, but they're really celluloid acetates, which are safer to produce, but my favorites are the celluloid nitrates, which they don't produce anymore, so that kind of caps off like the celluloids that are available, and I currently have all the celluloids that I love the most, and so hopefully that will keep me from buying more pens, just the focus of my collection and that they're not really being produced anymore. And whenever I get to a certain number of pens that I think is, you know, the end of my collection, I look up that number on Wikipedia and find out if it's like a special number, and I think that 108 is a special number because 108 is the angle in degrees of the interior angles of regular pentagons. Pentagons. There's the word pen in pentagons, so that must mean 108 is the perfect place to stop. Also, 108 is considered sacred by the Dharmic religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. They can't be wrong. They've been studying, you know, numbers, you know, for a long time, longer than I have. They must know 108 is the perfect number to stop at. Also, 108 is a Harshad number. The word Harshad comes from the Sanskrit harsa, joy, and da, give, meaning joy giver. Yes, my collection of 108 pens gives me much joy. Alright, so now you know how crazy I can get in this hobby. Alright, what's the next question? 8. Consequently, what would you do if another pen or ink came along? Oh, I forgot to answer about my limit on inks. So pens are my first love, and inks are my second love. And so I have almost like a different ink in each pen that I have, so I would not want to have more inks than pens. So I try to keep the number of inks about the same as the number of pens. And if more pens and inks came along, I will try not to look at them. All right, so now I'm going to be showing you my book collection, because I think that you can learn a lot about somebody from what books they have. And when I was trying to prepare for this video, I tried to do what the others I've seen did, which is like, you know, hold the camera up to the bookshelves. I wasn't able to do that, so I'm going to be bringing my books over here, which means that I'm not going to show you all my books. I'm not going to carry all of my books over here. I'm just going to show you the ones that matter the most to me. And I've been learning something about myself from doing this, and about why I collect books and what I value most. So I'll be right back with some books. Okay, so in my book collection, I have two basic types of books. Books that I like to read and books that I like to look at. So I'm going to start out with the books that I like to read. And I start with the books that I'm currently reading. Right now, I'm reading Lillian Jackson Braun's The Cat Who Said Cheese. Lillian Jackson Braun wrote a series of books, all starting with the words "The Cat Who" in their title, and these are really fun, pretty light books, and so I'm reading that currently. And also, Eve and I are reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We're going through the series, and so now we are on book 6. I love reading out loud. Eve is an excellent reader, so she could very well read these books herself, but I enjoy reading them to her. And so a lot of the books that I read, after I read them, I just donate them to the library, because I don't want to keep books that I don't really like the looks of, like on my shelf. But I have books that I love to read, and I love the looks of them on my shelves, and I tend to collect them. So I have a collection of Charles Dickens. He is one of my favorite authors. I love reading Victorian fiction as well as nonfiction, and my dad knew that I loved Charles Dickens, so he bought me a collection of these books that look beautiful. And I've decided for this video that if I have a collection that's more than 5 books, which I do with these Charles Dickens books, I will just show 5 of them and let you know I have more. So I have Dombey and Son, A Tale of Two Cities. These have beautiful covers, and there's also illustrations on the inside. Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, and The Old Curiosity Shop. These are really beautiful books. And then they tended to make a lot of books with red covers, so these aren't all from the same series, but they are good classic books that look nice on the shelf, as well as I enjoyed reading them. So there, I've got The Wind in the Willows. This one no longer has its spine, unfortunately, but it is The Man in the Iron Mask by Alexander Dumas, who is one of my favorite authors also. My mom introduced me to his work. He also wrote Three Musketeers, which you probably have heard of if you haven't heard of The Man in the Iron Mask, but you should read all of his work. There's Charles Dickens' Little Dorrit, and Tom Sawyer's Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, and Charles Dickens' Sketches by Boz. So I really like how those look on my shelves. And then I have a giant collection of Perry Mason books, which were by Earl Stanley Gardner. I was first in love with the TV show, and then I went to a library book sale, which is where I get a lot of my books, and they had the whole collection of Perry Mason books, so I bought them, and they take up a really long line of on top of a bookshelf, and I think they look pretty nice. So the ones that I brought over to show you are The Case of the Lucky Loser, The Case of the Restless Redhead, The Case of the Moth-Eaten Mink, The Case of the Fan Dancer's Horse, and The Case of the Phantom Fortune. So I am a fan of mystery novels. By the way, I don't know if I said this, but this one's a mystery as well, like murder mysteries. And these ones, you know, these books make me nostalgic. I did not live during, I think it was these are set in like the 1940s or 50s. I'm not sure. But anyways, I really enjoy those books. Now I have to go get a load more books. I'll be right back. So I think I got my love of reading out loud from my parents. My parents both read to me like when I went to bed every night until I went to college. I think I love reading to my husband and my daughter, and I have often thought I should go around to like old folks' homes and read to people because I really enjoy doing that, like reading out loud. So I have a collection of like classic books. My mom read me a lot of classic books when I was little, and these ones look nice on the shelf too. The Secret Garden, Little Women, Jane Eyre, The Three Musketeers, Sherlock Holmes, Through the Looking Glass, and What Alice Found There. So that's just a small collection of my classic books. And then, so my mom mostly read me that type of book. My dad liked to read me Narrow Wolf books. Narrow Wolf is a murder detective. They made a TV show of it later on, but I haven't really watched the TV show. I've read, I have all of the Narrow Wolf books. They're written by Rex Stout, and the ones in my collection are hardcovers, and they have amazing covers. Like the designs of these covers are really beautiful, and I just wish that I could really keep them in good shape because they tend to like get little pieces of the paper coming off, you know, off of the dust jacket. But anyways, I love how these books feel. The pages, the paper, you know, it's like nice thick paper. The print is, old books are really beautiful to me. So here's Three for the Chair. I have the whole collection. I just brought 5 over. Death of a Dude, Gambit, The Mother Hunt, and Champagne for One. The personalities in these books, there's a little bit of sexism in these books, so they don't look good in a feminist light. You kind of have to overlook some of that stuff from that time period, but the stories and the characters in these are really good. Okay, and then when I started dating Chip, who's my husband now, he liked to read to me, and that's one of the reasons that I fell in love with him. And he was a math major, and I was an art major, and for art, I had to take math classes still, but I took like art and math class, and one required reading was Flatland, and Chip read it out loud to me, and I just loved it when he read it to me. I've tried to read it again lately, and it's a little drier than I remember it being, but when Chip read it to me, I just loved it. Okay, I'm gonna get some more books. I'll be right back. So now we're on to the second category of books that I like, which are ones that I like looking at as opposed to reading. And I have a large collection of art books because I was an art major. I love looking at art, being inspired by it for my own art. The first ones that I'm going to show you are fine art books, or books of fine art. Mary Cassatt. I saw an exhibit of the Barnes Foundation, and in particular I love Matisse. He's one of my favorite fine artists. Alphonse Mucha. Van Gogh. Edward Hopper. And Magritte. I think I'm sort of with my own art going in the surrealist direction. I also like, fantasy artwork, but I love surreal artwork. Okay, and then since I am an illustrator and I would love to illustrate children's books, right now I illustrate games, I have a really large collection of illustration books. So the ones that I have right now here are from the golden age of children's book illustration. Arthur Rackham, you've probably heard of before. I have several books of Arthur Rackham. Ivan Bilibin, a Russian illustrator and set designer. Some collections from the golden age of illustration. This one is, I think this is like Kai, I have ones by Kai Nielsen and Edmund Dulac, and yeah, some collections. There's Kai Nielsen. Yeah. All right, and then I have children's books illustrated more recently, so I'm going to go grab those. So when I was a kid, I had a friend named Maya Wilkin, and her grandmother was a writer and illustrator for a lot of little golden books, and I have this collection of her work. And she did some really beautiful illustrations of children and their families and nature, and they have a lot of beautiful patterning in them, a lot of detail, and I enjoy her illustrations. One of my favorite children's book illustrators is named Angela Barrett, and I have a lot of books by her, so I'm just going to show 6 of them. I couldn't narrow it down to 5. The Random House Book of Ghost Stories, Through the Tempest Dark and Wild, a story of Mary Shelley, who is a writer that I really like too. She wrote Frankenstein and one of my favorite books called The Last Man. Joan of Arc. Eve is currently doing a presentation in school on Joan of Arc, and she enjoyed looking through this book and reading it. Anne Frank. Snow White. And Beauty and the Beast. I just love Angela Barrett's illustrations. And then there's Lisbeth Zwerger, and I also love her illustrations. They're a little bit more, they leave a little bit more space. I tend to like highly patterned and like illustrations with a lot of texture and pattern in them. These ones have a little bit less, but they're very like the use of the materials and just the textures, subtle textures. I really love that. That's The Little Mermaid, Nutcracker, and a collection of her artwork, Lisbeth Zwerger. And then my husband and I share a passion for games. Not really like electronic games, which is what most people think of these days, but like board games and card games, and what they call like European board games, especially in Germany. Board games are really popular. And when we met, one of the things that we did when we dated was we learned the game Magic the Gathering together. And right now, Chip is teaching Eve Magic the Gathering, so it's lasted this long. And I was fortunate enough to be an intern for my favorite Magic illustrator, and that is Rebecca Gay. And I have this children's book that she illustrated. She is an amazing watercolor and gouache illustrator, and she lives in Amherst, so I was able to drive over there and help her out. And we also went to some Gen Con game conventions together. Then I don't really speak French, so I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this illustrator's name, but like Antoine Delisert. Anyways, I love his illustrations. And I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these names, but Gennady Spirin. I have a few books by him. And Olga Dugina and Andrzej Dugin. I believe they're husband and wife team. But these ones, there's amazing details in these illustrations. The Brave Little Tailor. The Scroobius Pip. This is a really fun poem, like story. And it's illustrated by Nancy Ekholm Burkert. And I love her illustrations also. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. I think they're colored pencil, but look how much beautiful texture and pattern and pictures of animals. Love that. Then I've got Amy Schwartz's A Teeny Tiny Baby. Lots of fun patterns, and this is a really sweet book, especially if you've had a baby and you know what it's like. And then I have a collection of William Stegg's work, and I have a lot of his children's books. So you might have seen the movie Shrek. It was based on this book by William Stegg. And there's The Amazing Bone, and all of his stories are really fantastic, very whimsical, and I love all this pattern. So those are all the children's books that I wanted to show you, but there's one last thing that I wanted to show you. Hold on. So someday I would really love to illustrate a children's book, if not write and illustrate a children's book. And I haven't accomplished that yet, but maybe someday I will. But so far, what I have accomplished is this. I had Eve, and she is beautiful. So I made a bunch of photo books of her, and why is this girl so cute? So I have a collection of photo books of Eve, and I just wanted to show you. This is what she looked like when she was younger. She's still really cute, but I mean, what the heck? Why is this kid so cute? Am I just saying that because she's my kid? But I thought you might be interested in seeing those. And then Eve's favorite book, the book I wrote about her, all of her accomplishments, the ones that stood out, the funny things she said, little handprints and whatnot. This is the Book of Eve. So that concludes my collection of books that I wanted to show you. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of work thinking about it, bring these down from the shelf, but I think it was worth it because it was fun. All right, so I encourage everyone to make a video, answer those pen questions, show us your books, and take care. See you later.